Hi guys, and welcome to another kit review. Okay, so today we're having a look at what I would call a very classic kit from Tamiya. Okay, it is their Jagdpanzer IV L70 Lang in 1/35 scale. Now this kit came out in 1976. Okay, kit number is 35088, and yes, I did build this kit in the late 70s, so it will be interesting to see if this one is exactly the same. I bought this one new probably year and a half ago, something like that, so it's still available. They have re-released the Jagdpanzer IV. Came out in 2014, brand new tooling, etc. So that's a completely different kit, I think. I haven't seen one yet, so I can't really say yes or no on that, but this one here is just basically the 1976 kit, which has been reissued over the years. It is one of the, or was one of the ongoing releases from Tamiya. So let's have a look at the box. Classic Tamiya from the time. Vehicle in really nice box art with plain white background. On the sides you have, in Japanese, this is the history of the vehicle, where it was developed, about some basic specifications. You do get a commander figure in this kit, which will be old school Tamiya. On the other side you have a Wirbelwind based on a Panzer IV chassis, a Brummbach based on a Panzer IV chassis, a Stug 4 based on a Panzer IV chassis, and surprise surprise, a Panzer IV. Okay, the good thing about this is exactly what the Germans did. They based all of these different vehicles on the standard, reliable, tried and tested Panzer IV chassis. Never had a problem with them. Okay, so that's the box. Let's have a look inside. Alright, so basic hull with, even here you can see, switch point and battery compartment. So that dates it. One bag of sprues, which contains the figure, the upper hull and the side skirts. Next bag contains the back of the vehicle, exhaust pipe, spare wheels and tools. And the next bag out contains all the wheels, drive sprocket, etc., idler and suspension. So standard Panzer IV running gear and polycaps, so the wheels go around. And then we've got, as normal for a old style kit, full Japanese instructions. We'll put those aside. Vinyl tracks, which are quite flexible. So this is not an actual kit from the 1970s. As I said, I bought this kit probably a year and a half ago. Brand new. Cost me 20 something Australian. Really cheap. Okay, and English instructions, standard Japanese, sorry, standard Tamiya I meant to say, not Japanese. History of the vehicle on the front. So that's what's in the box. Let's get rid of this, and then we'll have a look at the instructions and the decals as usual. Okay, so let's have a look at the instructions. So as you can see, photo of the actual model. It does say 2 kits used. You don't get 2 kits in the box, just the one. Okay, and a brief history with specifications. It does say here that it uses 7.5 L70 Stug 42 main gun. Okay, so how fast it will be, cross country 10 miles per hour. Very slow, but then again, it wasn't designed to win races, right? English, German, so that's really good. Alright, if you wanted to practice your German, that's the German part, that's the English translation. You could just alternate and eventually you'll learn how to read German. Okay, so that's the front. Inside we've got sprue layout, fairly basic, 4 sprues plus polycaps and track. That's it. Okay, really easy model to put together. Definitely a weekender. Definitely one of those ones you'd use if you needed a break from something a little bit more complex, or just felt like doing something simple for a change. Okay, so let's have a look. Where do we start? As you can tell on the side here, it does have a list of all the parts, including what they are, which is very handy kind of thing. A little bit extra knowledge to know. So we start off with the wheels, of course, drive sprockets, and note that you do get polycaps that go inside. Okay, road wheels and your idler wheel. Then we come to the back of the tank, which is almost exactly the same as constructing a Panzer IV, because that's what it was based on. Exhaust pipe. Okay, a couple of fittings to go on there, tools, etc. That's the back. Then we get to put on, okay, so your support rollers for the track and your suspension axles going on to the hull tub. All right, fairly easy, fairly straightforward. Wheels go on. In the basic sequence, you can't really get these wrong. Okay, drive sprocket at the front, idle at the back, road wheels in the middle. Very, very easy. Okay, simple construction. And then we go on to, these are your side skirts. Okay, so if you wanted to, you could actually leave these off the tank, right? You don't necessarily have to put them on. I have seen film of Jagdpanzer IVs with and without the Schurzen side skirts, so it's entirely an option as far as I'm concerned. Construction of your commander figure, construction of your, now this is your, I hate to say it, I would say gun breech, but it's not. It's just your gun mount. Hatches, and the hatches are movable. There is no interior, but you do have movable hatches, which means you can pose your figures in the hatches. Okay, fairly simple, straightforward. This is where you put the armor plate supports on. Okay, you don't necessarily have to have those, so it is completely a choice of yours whether you want to have the side armor on or not. Mud guards, tools on the engine deck. Okay, these are your periscope positions, although there are no periscopes, it's just empty. So if you wanted to enhance this a little bit, I would probably put some, look at your internet references and put some plastic up inside there to replicate your periscopes. Gun mount goes on the front. Okay, mantlet. So this is movable, so your gun is movable. It does show you exactly how it's supposed to fit. Okay, so the barrel fits into the mantlet, alright? And it says right here, so you get a choice of 2 guns. Okay, it says 75mm short barrel or the 75mm long, right? So you choice of the short 75 or long 75. Since this is a Jagdpanzer L70 Lang model, Lang being long, so this is the long barreled version. But that's a choice that you can have depending on which version, early or later version, that you want to model. Okay, and then simply finishing off tools on the engine deck, spare wheels, okay, the rear side skirts going on to protect the engine deck, spare track, and even the spare track is optional. Okay, and then just sticking the tracks together as usual, melting the joiner, and that's done. And then at that stage, after you put the track on, that's when you'd put the side skirts on. Of course, you wouldn't put the track on until you've painted the entire vehicle anyway, and then take it from there. Okay, and that's it. 12 steps and she's finished. Okay, like I said, very easy vehicle to build over a weekend. Probably take an afternoon, and then you spend the next day starting to paint her up. Okay, so then we get to the painting. Okay, so fairly straightforward. All over dark yellow. Since this was a late war, post 1942 vehicle, right? All vehicles after 1943 were painted dark yellow. So she gets a dark yellow base, and then you can use a dark green or red brown in any type of camouflage pattern you want on this vehicle, and it'll do fine. Okay, as for decals, you do get your divisional and tactical markings. Okay, so you get Panzer Training Division, 2nd Panzer Division, 116th Panzer Division, 9th Panzer Division, and tactical marks. Okay, so that's a battalion tactical mark. Okay, and that's it. All done. Very simple, very easy. As I said, nice little kit, great little weekender. Right, so that's the instructions. Let's have a look at the decals. Decals are fairly straightforward. Individual numbering, so you can make this vehicle whatever number in the battalion you would like. Standard German crosses, your divisional marks and your tactical marks, and kill marks. So kill marks, unless this guy's a Panzer Ace, probably wouldn't have that many kill marks, but you can split those and use them on other vehicles if you want to. That's an easy one. And let's get this up here. There is the copyright. I'll try and hold it 1976 is the copyright on the decals, but as I said, this is an ongoing production by Tamiya, so these decals were probably made only a couple of years ago. Alright, same as the Sprues, which we'll see in a second. They would have been made a couple of years ago, not 1976, not 44 years ago. Okay, oh god, I'm feeling old. Anyway, that's the decals. I'll give you a shot of those, and then we'll have a look at the Sprues. Okay, so let's have a look at the Sprues, and first we'll have a look at the hull tub. Okay, so if you've seen my review of the Tamiya Stug 4, you'll recognize this hull tub. It's exactly the same, right? That's your switch hole there. Okay, there isn't a great deal of detail or bolt detail. There's a little bit on the back here, but not much as far as the fittings are concerned. Not that it really matters, because you will not see this once the wheels are on. Especially if you use the side skirts, you will not see any of this under here. Okay, so bottom, very plain, nothing inside. And there is your battery compartment. Okay, switch. And if I can get you close enough, you can actually have a look at, it says right there, there you go, Panzer IV 1975. Okay, so they've updated the kit number 35054, but as you can tell, it used to have an MM number, which was the old style of Tamiya's numbering, and this is the Panzer IV hull, and it is from 1975. Okay, so that's the top. Let's have a look. Sorry, that was the bottom. This is the top. Getting ahead of myself. Top of the hull, your commander. These are the back side armour parts, hatch. Okay, mudguards, gun mantlet, spare track, etc. Right, so let's have a look at the hull. Now, there you go. So, there's a little bit of detail, not a huge amount of detail. I say there's very little as far as bolt detail is concerned. Let's actually have a look at the front. Okay, so you do have some bolt detail for the maintenance points on the front gearbox, etc., which is this point here. And you do have some weld seams where the armor's been welded together, and that's about it. Looking close and feeling it, doesn't really have an armor texture, I'm afraid. It does have a flame cut section here where the armor was cut off from a large sheet, but as far as armor texture, but then there wasn't a great deal of armor texture on most German tanks. They actually finished their vehicles off really nicely. They weren't extremely crude. So let's have a look. So you have got some hooks and things there. They're quite heavy, probably too heavy scale wise. Alright, hatches. So I'm not sure what that part is, but it already has a divot in it from being an old mold. So when it comes to construction, I'll have a look and probably have to fill that. That's your front of the vehicle. Mudguards. Let's have a look at Herman, your commander. Okay, being a 76 kit, the detail's fairly crisp. It is lacking certain things like the chest eagle, etc., but you can probably get away with that if you make that a camouflage uniform. Facial features, yeah, you can get away with that. Paint that up in a bit of shading, you should be okay. Okay, so there is your gun barrel. That is one piece gun barrel, which is really nice. It does have a mold line, which shouldn't be too hard to remove. These are front hook points, etc. on the vehicle. They do appear to be very heavy, or a little bit too heavy. And some tools. That's your cleaning rods, etc. for cleaning out the barrel. And that is your gun mantlet. Okay, so the gun mantlet, that was cast as far as I understand, but has no texture on it. So if you want to put cast texture on that, that would be an internet reference to see what it actually did look like. Okay, so that is your upper hull and your commander figure. We'll have a look at the side skirts. There's your side skirts, okay. They do have some bolt detail on them. That is your short 75, which is a two-piece barrel. So you can use that if you want to. Just means you will have to clean up the join line a little bit more spare track, and these are your fixings for putting the plate on the side of the tank. So as I said, let's turn her over. So the side skirts, okay, were flat pieces of metal. They weren't chamfered like this, but Tamiya's done that to create the illusion of a thin metal plate from looking downwards, or from looking from the ends, while still giving it fairly solid basis to fix on the vehicle. So if you really wanted to go to it, I'm pretty sure you could probably find some aftermarkets to replace it, and put some flat metals on, or like I'm thinking of doing, just leaving them off altogether. Okay, so that's your side skirts. Next we will have a look at the back of the Jagdpanzer, and see if I can get you close enough. No, she's not going to do it. It's a bit shallow. The copyright on this sprue is 1976. Okay, so on here you've got your spare wheels, exhaust pipe, tools, and back of the tank. Okay, a few more tools and hooks and things, so let's have a look. Alright, there is a little bit of bolt detail on there. Most of that will be covered up by tools, etc., so that's not going to be a major problem. The wheels, they have a little bit of detail, but being an old kit, they're not flat-sided bolts. They're very round, but you can get away with that because you're not going to see it unless you look really close up. Fire extinguisher, jack, that's an axe. The handle is very solid on the axe, so if you've got some thinner ones or better looking tools, yep, might be worthwhile. Otherwise, just have a go at thinning that handle down on the axe. Exhaust pipe, same for the spade. So the handle has got, and I must say there is a fair bit of cleanup to do just on the mold lines, okay, and around the edges of almost everything on this sprue. It is getting to be an old mold, so maybe that's why they issued the new kit in 2014. Okay, so that's your tools and spare wheels, etc. The only other sprue I've got to show you is also this one. Okay, so anyone who's seen or had an old Tamiya original Panzer IV, you'll recognize this. Okay, let's have a look at the copyright on this. Oops, sorry, that went out of focus. There you go, 1975. So this is the original Panzer IV, not Jagdpanzer or Stug 4, but Panzer IV running gear. It's exactly the same for all these vehicles. Even the Whirlwind will have the same running gear. Okay, so you've got your suspension axles, drive sprockets. Okay, these are the mounts for the drive sprockets on the hull, and your idler wheels and your road wheels. So let's have a look. Road wheels, as I said, there is bolt detail. It's not super flat-sided bolt detail, but you will get away with it because it is quite small. Okay, let's turn this over, and there's the bolt detail on the drive sprocket. So again, it's not super sharp, flat-sided bolts. They are quite rounded, but this is a 1976 Tamiya kit. And, you know, yes, I suppose if you want to be a purist, you could replace it with something a little bit better looking, but it's a fairly cheap kit and an easy build, okay? It's the kind of kit that you can quite easily build in a weekend, paint in a weekend, and then set it up on a diorama and dress it up nicely with accessories and things like that, and it'll look pretty good even for its age. Okay, so that's the last sprue. The only other thing I've got to show you is polycaps, which we've all seen before, and the tracks. As I said, the tracks are very flexible. Okay. No, they won't give you a track sag. Yes, you could replace them if you could find them with Panzer IV tracks, single links or something like that. But that's where you come down to, is it worth it financially? You know, it is, like I said, it's a cheap kit, easy build. But I'm sure there's people out there who want to spend the money. Personally, no, I'm happy with the vinyls because I'm pretty sure I can glue them down to get a track sag. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling. Okay, that's it, guys. That is Tamiya's Jagdpanzer IV from 1976. I did make this back in the late 70s, and from what I can see, it's just going to be as easy to build now as it was back then, including painting. So I'm quite happy with this one. Okay, this is definitely a weekend build. Alright, so as I said, that's it. That brings us to the end of this one. I hope you got something from it, and as usual, take it easy, and I will see you next time.